Trust is built in uncertainty, not certainty. People get stressed when there's change. The future is uncertain when it's foggy. We all feel like that. When things start to happen in your firm, in your environment, in your situation, how are you going to cope with the uncertainty? After any kind of announcement or pivot, most people react instinctively. Very few people pause and think strategically. I'm speaking directly to the leaders, the partners, the owners, the people that have probably mandated this change. Your people are not listening to necessarily what you're promising, they're watching what you avoid. Well, as always on this Accounting Voices podcast, I give you the stuff that's relevant, the stuff that keeps you informed, and I'm Rob Brown, your host. There is a moment that changes everything in your accounting career. If you work in public accounting, if you work for a private firm, then this moment changes, well, not everything, but a lot of things. It's not rumor, it's not the signal, it's not the announcement. It could just be an email. The town hall is called, and words like merger and sale and new ownership and restructuring or strategic reset are used, and suddenly what felt theoretical or possible becomes personal and probably likely. Over the last two episodes on this show, we have looked at building to this point. In 2 episodes ago, we talked about why accounting firms feel unstable right now, all the disruptive factors, private equity, mergers, leadership churn, different business models, different leadership structures, technology pressure, changing ways of doing things. The next episode we did was how to read the signs early on so you're not blindsided and you can get ahead of them. This episode is the final piece of this 3-part jigsaw, what to do when change is no longer a possibility, but a fact. You know that it's coming, because the truth is, change doesn't damage careers. Poor responses to change damages careers. And the ability to cope with uncertainty in your accounting role is quickly becoming the most valuable skill in accounting. I've recently done a series called Accounting Reflections 2025, and I've interviewed 50 people. You can find them all on the Accounting Voices LinkedIn page. Done in North America, where our audience is, mostly for this show. And it gives you a feel for what is coming up. And I asked them, what has defined 2025? And most people in one form or another said this sheer disruption and change. So what we're talking about here is when things start to happen in your firm, in your environment, in your situation, how are you going to cope with the uncertainty? Because that ability to cope is a superpower. After any kind of announcement or pivot, most people react instinctively. There might be some kind of a freeze, a panic, an overshare, a withdraw. You wonder what the heck is going on. Some rush to LinkedIn, some go silent, some start campaigning for the old ways and pushing back. Very few people pause and think strategically and selfishly about their own career. And if you're early in your career, this moment feels overwhelming because you've just got a foothold in the profession. If you've been in the game a few years, you're a leader, you're a partner, or maybe even an owner at the moment, it's more dangerous because everything you do is being watched. And you've got people above you, people below you, not necessarily judged, but certainly interpreted. So what should you do? Well, as always on this Accounting Voices podcast, and I'm Rob Brown, your host, I give you the stuff that's relevant, the stuff that keeps you informed, the stuff that keeps you competitive and ahead of things in a tough but rewarding and changing environment. So I want to give you 4 practical moves that apply whether you're a graduate, a manager, a partner, a firm leader, or you might be in the tech world looking into accounting firms, serving them, and you want to know what's going on inside. So tip number 1 is control your signals. So in the first few days after any kind of announcement, your behavior becomes your brand. I talk a lot on this show about personal brand, you being the head of your own personal services company. People buy personal brands more than they buy corporate brands these days. So you should be on show. People are talking about you behind your back. People are having perceptions about you and opinions about you and how you show up and behave in certain situations, particularly pressure situations, says a lot about where your career is going and what doors will be open and what doors will be closed. So when I talk about controlling your signals, your reactions, it's being more intentional and thoughtful about what you say, what you don't say, where you show up, how visible you are. Don't speculate publicly. Don't gossip unless you have to. Don't catastrophize privately. It's not the end of the world. This is a time to be calm. People with strategic corporate presence are calm. They don't lose it. So you want to be measured, be curious, be professional. It's okay to ask why. Your behavior is often the message, and it tells people whether you can cope with what's coming up or whether you will get left behind because you can't go. So your behavior is the message, control your signal. Secondly, strengthen your relationships in your network. Don't feed into the rumors, don't contribute to the gossip, but this is the moment where relationships matter more than performance metrics. There's a lot of research done on how people retain the ones that they like, not necessarily the ones that are competent. In other words, likability trumps competence. You can look that up. It's true. So it's how you relate to people and how your network is, how you get on with people, how you support and encourage people. That's often a lot more critical than competence. There are so many good people out there that can do a job, but binding together relationships and getting communication right in tough, uncertain situations, that's the hallmark of a leader and a future leader. So I'm asking you here, number two, to focus on your relationships as much as your performance. So connect with people across teams and within your team, check in with managers and leaders, listen more than you speak, ask good questions, be a good detective. They're curious. Ask more questions than you answer. You're there to drive the conversation. And the person in charge of a conversation is the one that's asking the questions, not the one that's doing the talking. People who stay connected, stay informed. I talk a lot about that on this Accounting Voices show. So make sure you are the one that is connecting the dots. You're the hub in the middle of the wheel and you're soliciting all kinds of opinions. And then you can have a more informed response yourself. Number three, make your value obvious. This is not the time to be a well-kept secret because change triggers assessment. Leaders, decision makers are wondering who they can bring with them and who they can't. They're assessing you, they're evaluating you, they're reviewing you, they're reviewing how you might fit into the new direction, whether you're part of the new regime. And that might not come immediately, but it certainly comes quietly. It's probably already been done. Who's on the team bus, who isn't? So they're looking for people that add clarity, people that reduce friction, people that communicate well, people who can be trusted. And don't wait here to get noticed. Visibility is a weapon in building career capital. Whether that visibility is internal or external, you've got to show that you are good and that you are vocal and that you are visible, that you are authoritative, that you are declarative, that you are even bold. So don't wait to get noticed. Show how you help decisions move forward. Show how you build consensus. Be useful, but not necessarily noisy. That's the thing here. You can't be a secret. You've got to put yourself out there a little bit more. Let people know that you're in the game and you're worthy of consideration and you're worthy of being consulted on things. And number four, build optionality without panic. What does that mean? It's critical, but what does it mean? I'm saying it's okay to have a plan B and a plan C. So preparing options, that's not a sign of disloyalty. That's a sign of you having your hands on the steering wheel of your own career. That's just being responsible. That's been mature. That's been wise. So build optionality without panic. Look at other options. Strengthen your network. Sound some people out. Talk to other people about how they're doing with things and what their options are. Optionality reduces fear. The best way to stay in a job is not need that job because you've set up this scenario whereby people often chase what runs away from them and they go after what they can't have. So if you show that you've got options and you are not willing to abide by any new rules and restrictions unless you want to, then you've got employability, you've got career capital. So update your resume or your CV, your curriculum vitae, as we say in the UK. Engage externally in the wider business community and other professionals. Build visibility outside your firm. Preparing options for yourself is not disloyal. It's not crazy. It's not jumping before the ship has sank. It's just giving you choice, autonomy, a little bit of flexibility, a little bit of freedom. It's the responsible, smart thing to do. And now I want to speak to the people at the top to finish this show. I'm speaking directly to the leaders, the partners, the owners, the people that have probably mandated this change, signed the contracts, and had these conversations on the quiet After the announcements are made, your people are not listening to necessarily what you're promising. They're watching what you avoid. They're watching how you go about things. They're watching what you share and what you don't share. They might believe some of the promises and the new vision and the new world and how things are going to be better. But ultimately, people are aware that we often make choices based on self-gain. So they're thinking what's in it for them, but they know that you're thinking what's in it for you. So they're watching what you do, what you say, what you avoid, how you communicate all of this. And silence, your silence, creates stories, it creates rumors. And an over reassurance, telling people everything's going to be all right, that often destroys credibility, because in the midst of great uncertainty, people know it's not going to be okay. They know it's going to be change, and change is hard. Now, you don't need to have all the answers as a leader, but you do need a level of honesty and a level of transparency. Shout out to Chelsea Summers on the Inside Public Accounting show that I co-host. Chelsea talks a lot about transparency, and the research they've done there. They do the 500 and the Rosenberg survey and other great research-based publications. And she talked a lot about how leaders don't share how much the firm makes and who makes what and what direction firms are going in and how things are going to change. So trust is built in uncertainty, not certainty. So honesty, transparency are really good. Explain what you know. Explain what you don't know. Explain what you think might change and what will not change. Have the courage of your convictions. People get stressed when there's change. They get stressed when the future is uncertain, when it's foggy, when it's dark, when you can't chart a path. We all feel like that in our personal lives, in our private lives. The pastors of my church recently got that phone call, some medical news. We're all scared of that phone call, aren't we? The tough diagnosis. It creates turbulence going ahead, whether it's personal or business or anything else. It hits everybody. There are bumps in the road for all of us, and a lot of it you can't mitigate, but it creates a huge amount of stress and pressure on mental health. So here's what I want you to take away from this mini-series, the big idea. The future of accounting is not going to reward those who resist change. It's not even going to reward those who blindly embrace change, because you don't just accept things on face value. It's going to reward those people who can interpret the change, communicate and lead through the change, and act with intent. And in doing all of this, preserving and even building your personal brand, your influence. Coping with change is not a soft skill anymore. Change management, change leadership. When I asked the 5 questions on this 50-person series I did recently, Reflections 2025, I asked, what skills and attributes should leaders upgrade on to stay relevant next year? And change management, change leadership came through very strongly. The ability to adapt, to be agile. It's not a soft skill, it's the skill. You can call it a hard skill, but it's something you need to be upgrading and be really mindful of and intentional with in this year coming up. This is the Accounting Voices show on all podcast channels and Spotify, Apple, iTunes. It's on YouTube. More of our shows are consumed and found on YouTube than any other channel. So go find us there. There's some great conversations, a lot of comments on our show. We have 7,000 or so subscribers on there at the moment, checking in every week. I'm Rob Brown, host of Accounting Voices. We've got some new shows coming out next year. We're bringing out the Accounting AI show, and this is going to be a monthly panel where I'll be bringing on experts, not to talk about the technical side and what's in the weeds of AI with accounting, but the bigger trends, the bigger disruptors and drivers of change and the direction of travel. We'll be doing a similar show, a monthly panel with accounting, private equity, consolidation, mergers, acquisitions, that whole change. We've got to get a name for that show yet, but I'm building the roster of experts and sponsors for that show too. And I'm going to be bringing together the best voices to, again, give you the big changes, not the news stories about who's acquired who and what private equity deal is being done here and there, but what it all means for us. So if this mini-series has resonated with you, how to recognize the signs, what to do about the signs, how it's inevitable in many ways, then do share the show with somebody. If you'd love to write a review on any of our platforms, I'd really appreciate that. Do subscribe on YouTube, connect with me on LinkedIn, and join the Accounting Voices newsletter. We put stuff like this out there all the time. There's the Accounting Voices LinkedIn page. Listen, change is not going away, but with the right mindset and the right skills, it becomes a competitive career advantage for you. I always say, if you think change is hard, then try not change it. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you on the next episode.